New York in 1985 wasn't a city. It was a predator that could smell fear a mile away. But I didn't bring fear with me, just an alligator skin suitcase and a contract for a hotel everyone considered trash. Arthur White, my second husband, was the kind of man born with a silver spoon in his mouth and the utter certainty that the world is his private playground. He was older, well-groomed, with the manners of old European aristocracy and the soul of a gambler. When I convinced him to invest in my first project on the East Side, he thought he was buying himself a fancy toy. He didn't realize he was buying a ticket into my world. "Nora, my dear," he'd say, sipping his ever-present scotch at the Knickerbocker, "what do you need these dusty construction sites for? Be my queen, sit at receptions, shine in diamonds. I'll give you everything." I smiled at him with my most tender smile and thought to myself, "Arthur, you have no idea that everything is what I'll take myself when your back is turned." Our wedding at St. Patrick's Cathedral was the event of the season. I walked down the aisle in silk Valentino, and all the newspapers wrote about the Cinderella of Ohio. James, my first husband, had by then become just a vague memory, a scent of cheap coffee. Now I smelled of Chanel No. 5 and victory. But life with Arthur was a gilded cage. He wanted me to be his trophy. He began to control my calls, my meetings. He didn't need a businesswoman. He needed a prop. And that's when I made my second big mistake, or my most brilliant deal. I started an affair with his main real estate rival, Marcus Stern. Marcus was Arthur's complete opposite, rough, abrupt, a self-made man in the slums of Brooklyn. We met at an auction for development rights on 42nd Street. Our gazes locked over the blueprints, and I realized he saw right through me. He saw not a millionaire's wife, but a predator, too tight for pearl necklaces. Our meetings took place in penthouses under construction amidst bare concrete and rebar. There, 50 stories up, beneath the roar of the wind, I felt alive. Marcus gave me information about the city's plans that Arthur hadn't even guessed at. We were playing a dangerous game. I leaked weak points in my husband's assets to Marcus, and he helped me secretly buy out Arthur's shares in companies through shell companies, cheating on my husband. For me, it was industrial espionage with elements of passion. Every evening, I returned to our penthouse on Park Avenue, climbed into bed with Arthur, and listened to him talk about how things weren't going well. I nodded sympathetically, and in my purse lay the document Marcus signed, depriving Arthur of another % of his empire. The denouement came suddenly. Arthur hired a private detective. I will never forget that evening. He was waiting for me in the library, surrounded by folders of photographs. I entered, rustling my evening gown, and saw his face. It was grey. "Nora, why? I gave you everything. I loved you." "No, Arthur," I answered calmly, taking off my earrings. "You loved owning me." But it's easier to own buildings. At least they don't know how to think. He wanted to destroy me. He threatened to leave me penniless, using all his connections in the New York courts. But he forgot one detail. I had been his wife for 3 years and had seen all his shady tax evasion schemes. I had copies. I had recordings. And I had Marcus, who was already waiting downstairs with the city's best lawyers. The divorce lasted a year. It was a war for survival. The newspapers slammed me, calling me the Black Widow of real estate. But when the dust settled, I walked out of the courtroom not just a free woman. I walked out as the owner of half his assets and the very hotel that had started it all. Marcus thought I belonged to him now. He came to me the day after the trial with a ring. "Now we're going to build an empire together, Nora," he said. I looked at him and laughed. "Marcus, you helped me take down Arthur. You were a wonderful tool. But I'm no longer a team player. I kicked him out." That evening, I sat in my new office, looking out at the city skyline, and realized I was no longer a seamstress from Ohio. I was Eleanor Vance. And now this city would play by my rules. I paid for it with my reputation. I stopped getting invited to charity balls and respectable people turned their backs on me. But you know what? When you own a controlling stake in Manhattan's largest developer, you don't need an invitation to a ball. You decide who comes. My bedroom was empty again, but now it was my emptiness, sweet, quiet, and completely safe. But New York was preparing a new challenge for me. A man had appeared who was smarter than Callahan, richer than Arthur, and more dangerous than Marcus. And that man was my son, whose existence I would rather forget.